Now we've brought in the items, we've put them into our inventory, we've sold as many of them as we possibly can sell, and now we're ready to actually return the remaining items to the supplier because we don't want to have to pay for them and we didn't sell them. So to do that, we're going to look up the original purchase order. We're going to obviously see any balance that we have remaining here for us to pay, any payments that we had already made, and what our current items are that we have on the purchase order. Now I want to return these items to the supplier, so I'm going to select the button here for return unsold items to the supplier. We're just going to select that button. The system is going to print me a PDF of a purchase order, and I'll show you just what the purchase order looks like. But the purchase order is just going to have a list of the items that we are actually returning to the supplier so that we have a printout of everything that we're returning. And then we're going to print that, and we're going to go ahead and process the return. So the first step is to actually print out the list. So we've got our report, and if we don't process the return, we can come back and do this again and process it later. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and tell it to process the return. Lizzie's going to tell us that we're electing to process all unsold items on this consignment purchase order to return to the supplier. So it wants to make sure that you got a copy of that PDF that we just had, because once this thing is done doing what it's about to do, we're going to lose the ability to unprocess it, because we're basically saying everything that we haven't sold we're going to give back to the supplier. Now at this point, notice that the purchase order has actually been changed, because now we still see that it's a consignment order, and we can still see that all of the items that we had sold are still here, but all of those extra items, which is why the system wants to make sure that you got a copy of that printout for the return. Once it does this, it makes this purchase order look like a real PO now. It makes it look like you got one part on consignment and you sold the part, and therefore it's in inventory. And then down here at the bottom, we can see that we've already paid for it. So, and then you can see at the bottom, the system shows you that it had changed the quantity from 5 to 1 because of that return. So that is really, if you think about it, because those consignment parts were physically never part of our inventory, they were just there on loan, if you will. There was nothing really to do on the books to get them off the books because they were never there to begin with. So that's all that there really is for returning parts to a consignment supplier.